The forest is a wonderful place filled with many different animals. Some are big and strong, like elephants. Others are tiny and light, like ants. But every creature, no matter its size, has an important place in the world. This story, The Elephant and the Ants, Even the Small Can Be Strong, teaches a simple but powerful lesson. Strength is not only about size. True strength can also come from teamwork, courage, and kindness. In this story, we meet Gora, a huge elephant who believes that he is the strongest animal in the forest. He likes to show off his power, and he often laughs at smaller animals. He thinks that size decides everything. On the other side of the forest, we meet a colony of hard-working ants. They are small, but they are united. They help each other and live peacefully. When Gora begins to trouble them, the ants decide that they must teach him a lesson. They do not want to hurt him, but they want him to understand that every creature deserves respect. Through their teamwork and bravery, they show Gora that even the smallest among them can make a big difference. This story reminds us that kindness is more important than pride, and respect is more important than strength. It shows that everyone, big or small, has a special kind of power. Let us enter the forest and learn this important lesson together. Chapter 1. The Big Elephant in the Forest. The forest was a wide and beautiful place. Tall trees touched the sky, and bright flowers opened every morning. Many animals lived there, and among them was a huge elephant named Gora. Gora was the biggest animal in the whole forest. His feet were as heavy as big stones, and every step he took made the ground shake. All the other animals looked at him with respect because he was strong, powerful, and fearless. But Gora did not only enjoy his strength. He was proud of it. He thought no one could ever stop him. When he walked to the river, smaller animals quickly moved away. Birds flew off branches, monkeys jumped up trees, and deer stepped aside. Gora believed this meant he was the king of the forest. One sunny morning, Gora walked through the forest feeling very pleased with himself. He swung his big trunk, pushed branches out of his way, and kicked old logs. He felt that nothing and no one could ever challenge him. "I am the strongest," he said proudly to himself. "No one can stand against me, not even for a moment." But Gora did not understand that strength was not the only thing that mattered. In another part of the forest, deep under old fallen leaves, lived a colony of ants. They were tiny, far smaller than Gora's toenail. Yet they worked together, helped each other, and lived peacefully. These ants would one day teach the proud elephant a lesson he would never forget. Chapter 2. A Proud and Strong Giant. Gora's pride grew bigger each day. When he walked, he pushed smaller animals away without even thinking. Sometimes he splashed large amounts of water that frightened birds near the river. Other times he stomped loudly just to show how strong he was. The animals talked quietly among themselves. "Gora is strong," the deer said, "but he is also rude." "Yes," agreed the monkeys. "Being strong is good, but being kind is better." But Gora never heard these words. He believed every creature in the forest admired him. When he looked at his reflection in the river, he smiled proudly. "Who can challenge me? Nobody." One afternoon, he saw a group of ants crossing a path. They were carrying tiny pieces of leaves. Gora laughed loudly. "Look at those weak little things. They are nothing compared to me." He lifted his foot as a joke and brought it down near them, making the ants jump in surprise. They almost dropped their food, but Gora just walked away, still laughing. What Gora did not know was that the ants were watching him carefully. They did not like how he treated others. They believed every creature, big or small, deserved respect. Chapter 3. The Ants and Their Busy Life. In a quiet corner of the forest, thousands of ants lived together in a deep anthill. They were small, but they worked harder than any other animal. Every day they carried food, cleaned tunnels, and protected their home. No ant was lazy. They all supported each other. The leader of the ants was an old but wise ant named Remy. She had seen many seasons and understood how life in the forest worked. When the young ants felt worried or confused, they came to her for advice. One morning, the worker ants returned from gathering food. They looked upset. Remy asked, "What happened?" An ant replied, "It's the elephant, Gora. He laughs at us. Today he scared us again. We almost lost our food." Remy listened carefully. "I see," she said. "Gora is strong, but he does not understand respect. He thinks we are weak." Another young ant said, "He believes we cannot do anything because we are small." Remy smiled gently. "Size does not decide strength. Working together is our power. Even the biggest animal can learn a lesson." Little did the ants know that very soon they would need to use all their teamwork and courage. Chapter 4. The Elephant Makes Trouble. The next morning, Gora the elephant woke up feeling stronger and prouder than ever. The sun was bright, the sky was clear, and he felt like the whole forest belonged to him. He wanted everyone to see how powerful he was. So he began his day by walking loudly through the bushes, pushing small trees aside just to hear them crack and fall. As Gora moved along the forest path, he saw a line of ants marching with small pieces of food on their backs. The ants were working hard, as they always did. But Gora felt a strange joy whenever he saw small creatures trying their best. He thought it was funny. He believed their hard work was useless because they were tiny. He stopped and looked down at the ants. "Huh, working again? Why bother?" he said with a deep, booming laugh. "Even if you work all day, you will never be as strong as me." The ants ignored him and continued walking, but Gora didn't like being ignored. He wanted attention. He lifted his big foot and stomped it on the ground near them. The heavy stomp shook the earth, and many ants nearly fell over. A few dropped the food they were carrying. Still, the ants said nothing. They picked up their food and continued marching forward. Gora grew annoyed. "Look at you. So small, so weak. Nothing you do matters," he said loudly. Then he blew a strong puff of air from his trunk. The wind blew leaves, dust, and even some ants away from their path. The ants scattered in all directions. Some hid under leaves. Others ran back toward their anthill. A few brave ants stayed still, waiting for Gora to pass. The forest animals watched from a distance. The birds shook their heads. The deer whispered, "He is too proud. One day he will understand." But Gora didn't care. He marched on, enjoying himself. He pushed bushes, pulled down branches, and even kicked an empty log down a hill. He felt powerful, unstoppable, and proud of every loud noise he made. When he reached the river later that afternoon, he splashed around loudly. He sprayed water high into the air, laughing at how the fish swam away quickly. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke from behind him. "Gora, why do you trouble others?" Gora turned and saw the wise old tortoise, Baku. The tortoise moved slowly, but he was respected by all animals in the forest. He lived many years and often gave advice. Gora laughed loudly. Why not? I am the strongest. No one can stop me. Not the monkeys, not the deer, and surely not those tiny ants. Baku shook his head. Strength is not for hurting others. It is for protecting and helping. Gora snorted. Helping? Why should I help weak animals? They should all stay out of my way. The tortoise sighed. One day you will see that even the smallest creature has power. Be careful with your pride, Gora. But Gora ignored the warning. He walked away, leaving big footprints in the soft riverbank. He didn't know that his actions were pushing the ants closer and closer to making a big decision, one that would change everything. Chapter 5. The ants become angry. When the ants reached their hill after Gora's troublemaking, they were tired and upset. Many workers had been knocked over. Some had lost their food. The younger ants were still shaking from fear. The anthill buzzed with unhappy voices. Remy, the wise leader, came to the entrance. Everyone, please settle down. Tell me what happened. One of the ants stepped forward. It was Gora again. He stomped near us. He blew dust and leaves at us. Some of us fell. Some of us lost our food. Another added, He thinks we are nothing. He mocks us because we are small. The ants murmured angrily. They respected all creatures in the forest. They never troubled anyone. But now they were being pushed too far. Remy listened quietly, nodding slowly. I understand, she said, but anger alone is not enough. We must think carefully. A young ant shouted, We should teach him a lesson. He thinks we are weak, but we can work together. The anthill buzzed louder. More ants agreed. Yes, teach him. Yes, show him. Remy raised her small leg, and the noise slowly faded. Listen, she said calmly. Gora is big and strong. We cannot fight him with brute force, but we have something he does not have: teamwork, patience, and unity. The ants nodded. They understood that alone they were tiny, but together they were powerful. Remy continued, If we allow others to treat us badly, they will never stop. Respect must be earned and protected. Gora must learn that size does not decide value. Another ant spoke. So what should we do? Remy thought for a moment, then her eyes brightened. We will not hurt him, but we will remind him that even small creatures matter. We will show him that pride brings trouble. The ants leaned forward, excited to hear more. We will go to him tomorrow, Remy said. But not to fight, to teach, to make him feel what he makes others feel. The ants began whispering among themselves. Teach him, show him, yes. Remy looked over them and smiled gently. Remember, courage is not only for the big. Courage is for anyone who stands up for what is right. The ants cheered, ready for the next day. Their anger had become determination. Chapter 6. A small but brave plan. The next morning, the ants gathered around Remy. The sun had just risen, and a soft light touched the forest floor. The air was cool, and the forest was waking up. Birds chirped from the branches, and the river made quiet splashing sounds. Remy stood on a small rock so all the ants could see her. Today we begin our plan, she said. Gora must learn that he cannot treat others with disrespect. How do we do it? One ant asked. Remy smiled. We will use our size as an advantage. We can go where big animals cannot. We move together. We are tiny, but we are many. When we work as one, we are stronger than any giant. The ants nodded eagerly. They felt brave, even powerful. They trusted Remy's wisdom. Remy continued. Gora loves to rest under the large banyan tree by the river. We will wait for him to fall asleep, Then we will climb onto him, not to hurt him, but to remind him that even small creatures can make a big difference. The ants understood the plan. They practiced marching in lines, moving quietly, and climbing small branches. They prepared all morning. When the sun was high in the sky, they marched toward the river. It was a long trip for tiny ants, but they felt ready. Along the way, they repeated Rimi's words. Together we are strong. Together we teach. At the riverbank, they found Gora. He was asleep under the banyan tree, snoring loudly. The ants looked at each other. This was their moment. Are we ready? Rimi whispered. Yes, the ants replied softly. Quietly, they moved forward. They climbed onto Gora's huge feet, then up his legs, then across his back. Hundreds of ants worked together. They moved with care, making sure not to wake him too soon. The brave plan had begun. Chapter 7. The attack of the ants, Gora was enjoying a peaceful afternoon nap. The shade from the banyan tree cooled his skin, and the warm wind made him feel comfortable. He didn't know that tiny feet were climbing all over him. At first, the ants moved gently. They did not want to harm him. But when they reached his neck, ears, and belly, Gora began to twitch. He scratched his leg. He shook his head. He flapped his ears. Still, the ants continued. Suddenly, Gora felt tiny pinches on his skin. They weren't painful, but they were very annoying. He woke up with a loud snort. "What is happening?" he shouted. He looked down and saw hundreds of ants crawling on him. His eyes widened in shock. "Ants! Ants everywhere!" he cried. He jumped to his feet and shook his body. Leaves fell from the tree. Dust rose into the air. Birds flew away quickly, but the ants held on tightly. Gora ran in circles, shaking wildly. "Stop! Stop! Get off me!" he shouted. The ants never bit hard. They only pinched gently, enough to annoy him like he had annoyed them many times. They wanted him to understand their strength. "Please, please, enough!" Gora begged. I understand. Hearing this, Rimi signaled the ants. "Stop, everyone, our lesson is complete." The ants climbed down quietly, leaving Gora trembling and out of breath. He looked around nervously, still shaking. Why did you do that?" Rimi stepped forward. "Because you treated us and others without respect. You think strength comes from size. But even small creatures can protect themselves." Gora lowered his head, ashamed. For the first time, he truly listened. Chapter 8. The Elephant Learns a Lesson. Gora sat down slowly under the banyan tree. He felt tired, embarrassed, and confused. For many days he had acted proud and careless. Now tiny ants had shown him that strength was not only about size. Rimi walked closer. "Gora, we did not hurt you. We only wanted you to understand how your actions made us feel." Gora nodded. I see that now. I thought being big meant I could do anything I wanted." "Being big," Rimi said gently, "means you have a greater responsibility. You can help others. You can protect the forest. But you must never misuse your strength." Gora looked around at the ants. "I am sorry, truly. I did not know how much trouble I caused." The ants nodded. "We accept your apology," Rimi said. "But remember today, respect must be given to all creatures." Gora promised, "I will change. I won't trouble anyone again." The forest animals watched from a distance. They felt relieved. The monkeys smiled. The deer whispered happily. Even the birds chirped with excitement. Gora stood up, feeling a new sense of purpose. He was still big, still strong, but now he understood that real strength was kindness. Chapter 9. Respect for Big and Small. From that day on, Gora behaved differently. When he walked through the forest, he moved slowly so he wouldn't scare smaller animals. He stepped carefully to avoid stepping on insects or nests. The animals began to trust him. He helped a bird find her lost egg. He pushed aside a fallen tree so deer could cross. He used his trunk to bring water to a thirsty rabbit. The ants saw his change and were proud. Remy said, "Gora has learned the true meaning of strength." Gora often visited the ant hill. He greeted the ants politely. Sometimes he even helped protect their home by blocking heavy rain with fallen leaves. The forest felt peaceful again. Big animals and small creatures lived together with respect. Chapter 10. Even the small can be strong. Time passed, and Gora became known not for his size, but for his kindness. The ants continued their busy work, proud of what they had taught the giant elephant. One evening, Gora stood by the river and watched the sunset. The sky turned orange and gold. He thought about everything that had happened. "I used to think strength was only in muscles," he said softly. "But strength is also in the heart." Remy appeared beside him. "Yes," she said. "And remember, even the smallest creature has a big purpose." Gora nodded. "I will never forget the lesson you taught me." The forest lived in harmony, and every creature, big or small, understood their value. The ants continued their wise work, and Gora continued his gentle steps. And so the story ends with a simple truth. Even the small can be strong, and even the strong must be humble. The story of the elephant and the ants. Even the small can be strong ends with a message that stays with us long after the final words. Gora the elephant started as a proud giant who believed that only big, strong animals mattered. He thought that smaller creatures had no power. But through the bravery and teamwork of the ants, he understood an important truth. Size does not decide worth. When Gora felt the tiny ants crawling on him, he realized how every creature can make a difference, no matter how small. He understood that strength without kindness can cause harm, while strength used with care can protect and help others. From that day on, Gora changed. He became gentle, thoughtful, and respectful. He helped the animals he once frightened. He became a true friend to the ants and to the forest. The ants also showed great wisdom. They did not fight with anger. They chose a peaceful way to teach Gora a lesson. Their unity, patience, and courage remind us that real power often comes from working together. The forest became a better place because both the big elephant and the tiny ants learned to respect each other. This ending teaches us that everyone has value, everyone has strength, and everyone deserves kindness. Wherever you go in life, remember this. Even the small can be strong, and even the strong must be humble. Let this story guide your heart, your actions, and the way you see others.